Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman. We are rolling our way to the weekend. And some March Madness, all things good. We might even get a little spring rain. Oh, Miss Jessica's very excited about that. She's planting some things. She loves to grow flowers and plants. Very simple people, very simple Midwestern people from humble backgrounds are me and Miss Jessica. It is true. We like the little things, our dog, our plants, our space, our privacy, the trees, the birds, all the good stuff, and it is all right here this spring. We got a great show lined up for you today. In a couple of moments, I don't even know. I've got two things that I've heard people in media on the left say or write in the last 24 hours that just, I feel bad for them. I don't even know what to say. That they live in some sort of delusional world that the rest of us do not live in, clearly, that is unfathomable. One is complete and utter white privilege guilt from a guy named Nick Wright, who used to be on radio in Kansas City, and he's on Fox Sports 1 on a show that nobody watches. Now, a lot of people watch his clips on social media. It's basically a television show that they produce, and then they take clips from it and put it on social media, and people consume it there 30 seconds at a time, but nobody really watches. You know, like 1 week, 37,000 viewers nationwide or something. But anyway, he said something outrageous. We'll get to that in just a moment. Also today, Bernie Sanders apparently is asking for Democrats to run as independents as they go forward. Oh, this is great. I've got some thoughts on that, on exactly what that will mean for their party and what they really should do. We'll probably get into KU and MU's disastrous basketball seasons ending last night in the NCAA tournament, each in spectacular fashion. They both had a chance to win. And we'll finish up with Mark today on some cool stuff that surprises him each and every time. But we start with white privilege, white guilt, whatever you want to call it, and what it does to people who have had a charmed life, grown up rich, been spoiled, daddy has connections, siblings doing well, they know the Obamas, they're the liberal elite. It really isn't white privilege. It's liberal privilege. And it exists especially in politics and media. There is liberal privilege. It's the greatest privilege in America. It's not close. That white privilege on a scale of, 1 to 10 is like 3, and liberal privilege is like 11. It's crazy. Man, if you're on the inside in liberal privilege with like a daddy who runs a union and is tied in with all the politicians that have been grifting and stealing from us all these years, and you get an education in private schools in Kansas City and then a private school in New York, that in today's dollars, if you're starting out in kindergarten, we're talking about an education that costs, are you ready for this? $750,000 just for your education. And then you go out in the world and you're a normal dude and you're like, I just want to be a sports radio guy. And you get on in Kansas City and you get a show and you got to leave because you're not beating the other guys. So you leave, daddy finds you, whatever, and you wind up on a cable channel like Nick Wright has, on a show that nobody watches these shows. ESPN's canceling them right and left. Fox Sports 1 is doubling down because they have nothing else to put on. So they're filling space, but they're great in social media. The clips, they get all kinds of views and whatever, and it becomes viral. That's the game everybody's playing now. How many views do we get on YouTube? How many we get on Twitter? It's not about the actual show on cable TV anymore. Nobody watches them. Nobody sees them. So Nick Wright, who's from Kansas City and went to the Barstow School, which is $26,000 a year, and Syracuse, which is, depending on where you live at Syracuse, is between $87,000 and $100,000 a year. And his dad is a political operative and union guy and knows the Obamas and all these other people. They've been connected forever. This is the most liberal privilege anybody that I know of in Kansas City media history has ever had. It's a magic carpet ride right to whatever you want to do. You tell daddy what you want to do and we'll figure it out. So he got that, and he's there. And he is decidedly upset and crazy about the fact that the Department of Defense took some sort of Jackie Robinson tribute thing down off of a DOD website. And Jeff Passan, who is also a committed liberal but a great reporter at ESPN, outstanding baseball reporter, he also lives in Kansas City. And I've known Jeff for a long time. We're not close friends, but he used to be on my radio show. He is excellent at what he does. He is unabashedly liberal, but will have a debate with you that is rooted in things that he believes in strongly, and he's intelligent. He articulates them. It's never personal. and we can discuss issues and ideas all day long and respect each other. He's that guy. But Nick Wright took a story that Jeff Passan did because he exposed the Department of Defense, Passan did, at ESPN for taking this story about Jackie Robinson down. What they did was they basically said, we're not going to put things on our website just for DEI anymore. And there was a salute to Jackie Robinson for serving in the military and being the first black baseball player and breaking the color barrier and all those things. And what the Department of Defense was saying was, we want to honor Jackie Robinson for his service and being a great baseball player, but not because he was black. And Passan didn't like that, and he exposed that, and they put the story back up, and it was altered, I guess, a little bit. But Nick Wright decides to get in front of his camera, and it looked like in his home studio. And I felt bad for him because he just loses his mind. He says, I always knew that eventually I was going to be out of sports and into politics, that this is the way I was going to go. But my wife has told me that that's not a good path for me. I would have been mayor of Kansas City, but Quentin Lucas, my classmate at the Barstow School, another rich kid, spoiled guy, has already been mayor, so I'm not going to be mayor of Kansas City. And she's kind of convinced me that I shouldn't run for president. Like, this dude is in front of a camera to talk about Jackie Robinson and saying, I've decided I'm not running for president. On a show that gets 37,000 viewers nationwide? What has happened? What exactly is liberal privilege? What is it like to think of oneself in such high regard that, well, I can't really run for president. My wife says it's not for me. What? Have you looked at, heard, and seen Nick Wright? So the crux of what he's going to talk about here is, this is unbelievable. You're not going to believe this. Jackie Robinson was the initial, very first DEI hire. The baseball player, Jackie Robinson, who crashed through the color barrier in great fashion, an historic American figure, no question, because he was great at what he did. And we were a racist country for a long time after the Civil War and did not give equal rights to black people. We didn't. We weren't even close. We were bad for 80 years at least, maybe 100. Awful. But Jackie Robinson was so good, he burst through that. He's the opposite of a DEI hire. Oh, but no, that's not the way Nick Wright sees it. Listen to this.
And this is what folks who are on the right side, the correct side of Jackie Robinson have been saying. Calling Jackie Robinson a DEI hire is insulting. And everyone who agrees with me politically was saying that. And that's why we lose arguments. Because we have just seeded the ground that, oh yeah, DEI is bad. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What that means is people who didn't deserve a job got one. And don't you dare call Jackie Robinson DEI, because he wasn't. He deserved it. But what people don't see is that's how the bad actors win, is by reframing definitions. Because a DEI hire is not someone who did not deserve the job who got it. That's just what they have claimed it is. And now folks are like, you can't call Jackie Robinson DEI hire. It's insulting. Guys, in Major League Baseball, Jackie Robinson was the definition of a DEI hire. And that's why we need it.
Wow. He's saying his fellow liberals are blowing this thing because they're ceding the space to normal people in America who recognize that when Delta Airlines says we're going to have 50% of our pilots that are not white men, and some young white lady who was flying Cessna Cubs 6 months ago crashes a plane in Toronto and flips it over on its side and almost kills everyone just because they needed to have a woman in the cockpit and they allowed her to land the plane. She's literally on a training flight with 100 passengers. That's what it was. She was the co-pilot and she needed hours taking off and landing these planes. And they're doing it with people on board. Because Delta said, we got to get to a point where we only have 50% white male pilots. That's DEI, Nick. That's DEI. And it's everywhere. So I will challenge you to rethink this. You love the NBA. I don't like the NBA. You love it. I don't know how many guys on a team, 13, 15. Let's make an even number, 14. Great. NBA needs to pass a rule, DEI, full DEI in the NBA. Nick, full DEI. 7 players on the roster cannot be black men. That's it. That's diversity, equity, and inclusion. You can have women on the team. You can have Europeans. You can have white people. You can have Asians. You can bring them from anywhere, but they can't be black men. That can only be half in the NBA. Why is there no DEI on sports rosters? I've said for 30 years, the most pure view of American exceptionalism and lack of racism and judging other people is sports. Nobody cares. They don't care if you're young or old, male or female, black or white. They don't care about your religion. They don't care anything about you. If you're the best player, you play in sports. That's why we don't like DEI. DEI stops that from happening. Jackie Robinson was the best. If they put a rule in 1947, half the players in baseball now have to be something other than white men. Do you think baseball would have been as good? At that time, it wouldn't have. Today, it may be. Certainly, the NBA is that way. You don't want to put half the players in the NBA as white guys. You don't. It won't be as good. I'm willing to say it. But you got to get honest, Nick. You got to get honest with this thing. And for you to think, and he also said in his piece that he's decided he's going to start a consulting firm to try to teach Democrats how to position their causes and speak about their causes. He says the reason they're losing the DEI argument is they don't know how to argue it. What the hell was that he just said? That was a Kamala Harris word salad. It was a train wreck of an argument for DEI. Jackie Robinson was a DEI hire. Wow, I think I've heard it all from the left, and this guy's telling the left that they're doing it wrong. They're positioning it wrong. They don't know how to say it and articulate their point. Here's the point, Nick. It's an indefensible position. You don't ever hire on quotas because of somebody's skin color or gender or sexual identity or preference or religion or anything. You hire the best, most qualified person for the job, something you've never really experienced because you had so much help in your career from your daddy and all the liberal privilege that you grew up with. You were the ultimate liberal privilege end game in the media. Congratulations. You're going to make a lot of money. They love you at your network. Your people are connected. You're going to way outdo me, buddy. You're going to make a lot more money than I ever made. Good for you. My dad was a ditch digger, okay? I didn't go to the Barstow School or Syracuse. But God bless you, man. Enjoy that liberal privilege and keep thinking that Jackie Robinson was a DEI hire. Let's take your phone calls. 913. I can't. Some days I just can't even do this show. It's so absurd. 913-408-7957. God bless you, Nick Wright. Thank you for giving me a monologue before the weekend where I can laugh my way through the rest of this show.
From Gardner to Grain Valley, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
It's an all Black Keys kind of day. I've been rocking out to the new Eric Church song. Came out yesterday. I don't know how many folks like music like I do that listen here, but we all have music that is particular to our youth that we love and remember and are fond of. And in recent years, I've become very attached to Eric Church music because he is a country artist who doesn't really do a lot of country. And a lot of people complain about that and say, well, what happened to country music? This isn't country. He just put out a song that's like a tribute to Bob Seger, Tom Petty, AC/DC, that has organs and horns and a choir, and it's a rocker, and it's so good. And he's just at a point in his career where he can make music like we used to like, because there is no radio format or bands out there making that kind of music anymore. It's called Hands of Time. It's excellent if you want to listen to it sometime. It's truly good. You may like it. If you like those artists I just mentioned, AC/DC, Tom Petty, Bob Seger, some of those, Guns N' Roses even, I think you'll like this song from Eric Church. Pretty cool stuff. All right, our phone lines are open, 913-408-7957. If you'd like to join the broadcast, I'd love to have you on. The second person in the media that caught my attention was not something he said, but it was something he wrote. And I don't know this man, but he's had quite a career for 30 years or more. He used to work at USA Today, and he's now at the Kansas City Star, and he's an editorial writer. His name is David Mastio. And maybe Pete has talked about him several times or whatever for different columns that he's written. And I just couldn't believe this. And sometimes you write a story, and in fairness to David, there is some depth to this story that certainly the headline has excluded here. The headline is basically, stop torching Teslas. It will only lead to voters for Trump. And, you got to read it. You got to see what's on the liberal mind and what they're thinking when we're watching these dealerships burn. The DOJ picked up 3 people yesterday. Four. They had picked up 3 before that, 4 more yesterday. They're facing 5 to 20 years in prison. One dude had an altered AR-15 and 8 Molotov cocktails and set a whole bunch of Teslas on fire. That deserves 5 years in federal prison, at least. It does. That is not free speech. It's not a statement. So this dude writes a story, and it isn't about, hey, this is dangerous. This is a real crime. People's lives are in danger if you're firing Molotov cocktails around Tesla dealerships. This is terrorism. It's none of that. It's, oh my God, please stop doing this. If you keep burning these Teslas, more people are going to vote for Republicans. They don't see anything else. I'm telling you, Democrats don't see anything but elections. They don't care about the country. They don't care about safety, security, taxes. They don't care about any of the issues. They care about their own personal issue. Most Democrats have one issue. For a lot of college-educated white women, it's abortion. Why that is, I don't know. Like the single lowest percentage of women anywhere in America getting abortions are college-educated white women. It just doesn't happen. They're the last ones to get abortions. They don't get pregnant. Many of them for obvious reasons, but I won't go into that. That was mean, wasn't it? Now, see, Mark, I'm not supposed to be like that. That was not nice. But you can look at him and you won't be necessary here. But they all have one issue, but they don't look at the important things that most people care about, that we have in common. They're uncommon issues. And when they write stories like, please stop burning Teslas because more people are going to vote for Republicans, you are just so disjointed and separated from the American population, it's hard to put into words. Now, David Mastio, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I probably even like him. We'd have great stories to share. He's been in the media a long time. And he didn't mean any harm by this. And there is more depth to the story, his opinion, than just that. But the crux of the story is stop, damn it. We can't let them get more voters. But then you get Bernie Sanders out there, and he's got a brilliant idea. He sees the Democrat Party falling apart. He thinks Democrats should start running as independents. What? How's that going to help? Who's going to win an election that way? Independents don't win just because you did, Bernie. Others don't. I got a better idea, Bernie. If you're serious about this, start a third party. Branch off. The wacky left should just branch off and do their own thing. I was hopeful that the one good thing that would come out of the Black Lives Matter farce, which has just died off, I was hopeful that they would start a Black Lives Matter party and it would go out and get 2, 3, 4% of the vote every time. That's what I was hoping for, but they didn't do it. They stole too much money. They got in trouble. They got all these things happen. They didn't do it. Bernie Sanders, start this movement. Start a wild left-wing party, a third party. Do it. Split your party in half. We will thank you forever, and America will be great again and forever if we get the Democrat Party to split into two. Wouldn't that be fabulous? 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
Call Kevin Kietzman, 913-408-7957. Now on 95.7 FM.
Welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us. Hope you have a great weekend this weekend. Do something fun or relaxing or whatever it is that you do. Most folks on the weekend get out of their normal routine. Even my mom, the weekend is different for her. I said, Mom, how's your weekend different than your week? She goes, well, it just is. I just do different things. I play cards on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with my friends. And I clean on Tuesday, or I get groceries on Tuesdays, and I clean on Thursdays. And on the weekend, I don't do any of that. So, well, there you go. That's the weekend. Everybody's working for the weekend, baby. Let's do it. I'm all good with that. Have we gone too far with lawsuits? How about this one? 2 high school graduates in America in separate states, one in Tennessee, William A. Are they not 18? If they're 18, why don't we know the last name? William A. And in Connecticut, Alicia O. are suing their school districts because they graduated from high school and can't read. I'm not kidding. They graduated high school but cannot read. My question is, what about all the other students at your school? Could they read? So was it the school's fault or was that your fault? If you baked your way through school and you're not literate, can't really read and write, and they graduated you and sent you out into the world and you're suing them for that, don't you have some responsibility for the last 12 years of your life at all? Or your parents or your church or your family or your community? I don't know, man. I'm all for a good lawsuit when things go wrong and people do misdeeds. I'm all for it, but it seems like that's going to be a hard one to win. They graduated me. I can't read. I'm suing them. Some point, it's got to be their fault. Maybe there's more to this than that. Maybe I'm sure there's a special education component to this, that maybe they sloughed it off and they were in some special ed classes or something and didn't get the help that they wanted or whatever. But we've gone too far. And a lot of these things pop up. We've seen so many issues in education over the last few years. And the one thing that I love is how many parents are now waking up to this and getting involved. And I'll just admit it. My generation of parents, we were the worst. We took our kids to school and dropped them off and didn't pay near enough attention to what was going on at all. Too busy working, too busy doing this, picking them up, taking them to sports, doing all that stuff. We didn't really pay attention. The maddest I got at a teacher was one of my kids' 3rd grade teachers that filled the classroom up with all kinds of KU basketball stuff for the entire classroom to indoctrinate them into KU basketball. All my kids were K-State fans growing up, and there were plenty in the classroom. And then the K-State kids got kind of picked on. And I said, can we do some balance? Can I bring you some stuff in here? But nope, we're not putting any purple in here. No. Nope. There's nothing I could do about it. And it wasn't a hill to die on. Seriously, it's not like that was the education. Every kid at some point is going to feel a little left out in school, like not the cool kid or picked on or bullied. I almost get tired of hearing stories about, bullying with kids because I've not met a kid that wasn't bullied. Like the king and queen of the prom at some point got bullied, and they were the most popular kids in school. Everybody did. Kids are mean. You know what? I'm going to change that. I've been saying that for a long time. I don't think that's right. Kids are real. Kids are real. There's no filter with kids. They'll say things to each other that adults want. We get more mature, civilized, kind, I think, as we get older. Not that there aren't a lot of kids with big hearts, but school's brutal. We all experienced it. We know it. I'm glad it happened to me. Junior high was the worst years of my life. 7th grade was dreadful. Just awful. Awful. And I think it actually wound up helping me. I think it pushed me or made me tougher or things like that. But to sit here and say we can sue school districts because you graduated us and we can't read, I don't know. There's just got to be more to it than that. Let's talk a little college basketball. What a train wreck of an end to the season last night. We'll start with Kansas. We'll go in the order of the games finished. And I got an email from a listener of my podcast today. And he basically said, I've been saying all season long, Hunter Dickinson is a good player. The computer says he's the 4th best player in America. He averages basically 20 points, 10 rebounds a game. That's very rare in college basketball. He's had a stellar career. He's won a gazillion games. He's done a lot of great things. And this emailer sent me this email and he says what he is tried and true, is a momentum killer. And I'd never thought of it that way. And this was the classic momentum killing game for Hunter Dickinson. That's exactly right. Now, he wasn't great last night, and he needed to be great. He wasn't. He was less than average. But what he did with 3 minutes to go, and Kansas, having been down the entire second half last night, they ran on a 23-9 run where Bill Self was coaching his brains out, just schooling John Calipari with a zone defense that Cal and Arkansas couldn't figure out. Kansas got the lead and had the ball up 3. They were down 11. They're up 3 with 3 minutes to go, and they have the ball. And Dickinson's got it way out top, outside the circle. And apparently he thinks he's throwing it to a teammate, and it's not even a crisp pass. It's just kind of like a, here you go, like you watch Pat Mahomes toss his wristbands to a kid in the stands. Here you go. He just kind of flips it. Right to Boogie Fland of Arkansas, who gets a layup. Arkansas, I think, to that point, had scored 4 points in the last 9 minutes. 4 points in 9 minutes. And Hunter Dickinson just handed him the ball for an easy layup. If you didn't know better, you'd think, well, did he have a bet on this game? What was that? He didn't. He was really distraught after the game, mostly because KJ Adams got hurt, and it appears to be his Achilles, which is going to be months of rehab. And that happened with just a few minutes left in the game. It's a very sad situation. So KU was crushed by this loss, clearly. I don't think any nefarious things about Hunter Dickinson, but that's exactly right. The guy would constantly play games while at Kansas, where he was very good in that game, maybe the best, most nights the best player on the floor, but was a momentum killer, or a player that just didn't show up in crunch time. And after he made that mistake, now Arkansas has life. They're down 1. KU committed 3 more turnovers in 3 possessions right after that, and all of a sudden they're behind. It was amazing what happened with that one terrible play by Hunter Dickinson, and KU winds up losing 79-72. Their season is over. Bill Self coached a great game. He's going to take a lot of heat from a lot of people saying, wow, is it passed him by? Does he need a new offense? Look, I think he should freshen up his coaching staff. I think there's things he can do. The mistake that he made was thinking this collection of players would be great, but it is impossible to tell the heart of your team. It's impossible to tell when you sign players and bring them in how they will perform in the clutch. He gave them every possible tool to win that game last night when, to be honest, it appeared that Arkansas was the better team. They still had the lead up 3 with 3 minutes to go because Bill Self is that good. And he's going to get hammered in many circles.
Yeah, when they flipped to the zone defense, I said they have done this maybe twice the entire season. This is going to give them a chance to win, and it did give them a chance to win, but the players just couldn't handle it.
It was that Dickinson turnover. I can't think of one play more decisive in a game that I saw yesterday that flipped the momentum and determined the outcome other than him just handing it to Boogie Fland.
And right before he handed off, he also shot a 3 that he probably shouldn't have and bricked it pretty bad. So there's a couple things there. Dickinson, like you said, usually a very solid player, but in that moment, in the final couple minutes of the game, it just wasn't there for him.
Well, here's what's true. They were up 3 with 3 minutes to go. If they go the rest of the game without a turnover, they win.
Yeah.
They win. Just don't turn it over. Because I think what a lot of people don't really recognize as much about college basketball is when you turn it over, it almost always leads to a basket. Most of them are easy. This one was just a layup. It was an easy layup for Arkansas, which they hadn't had. You know, they'd gone 9 minutes with 4 points. So to get an easy basket and pull within 1 was like new life for them. And then they committed 3 more turnovers. So it just was ugly at the end. And KU was that all year. They were the most un-KU team ever. They didn't do anything well in the clutch. The Missouri Tigers, it's hard to hammer on them because they were so bad last year and they were way better this year and they get to the tournament and all those good things. But my goodness, Dennis Gates has a blind spot. There is no defense at Missouri. There is none. Drake is not a high-scoring team. They shot almost 55% in this game. Missouri didn't play any defense the last 6 weeks of the season. They didn't play much all season. And Dennis Gates this offseason, go hire an assistant coach that is a defensive specialist. Because the things you do work, you score points. It didn't work against Drake. That was a coaching clinic last night. Ben McCollum and his team, that was such a beautifully coached team against a Missouri team that at its best this year was more like an NBA team, running the floor up and down, getting easy baskets. You're not going to beat teams like Drake in the tournament doing that.
Yeah, Missouri had one of the best wins all season at Florida.
Right.
Who I picked to win the tournament this year.
Yeah.
So
they did. And when they do that, they look really, really good. Then you play against a team like Drake that slows the pace of the game down, makes you compete for every basket. They had 13 steals. Drake took the ball away from Missouri 13 times. Steals. Just flat took it away with their defense. Now, obviously, that's on Missouri's offense, but the blind spot, I think, at Missouri is their defense just isn't very good. Drake, probably at the pace they were playing yesterday, shouldn't have scored 67 points. Missouri only scored 57. But the killer was, it was the same thing as Kansas. Missouri was down all night. It looked awful. We were going to sleep on this game. Like, this was not a game. Missouri goes on a 9-0 run. 4 minutes to go. It's 52-50, and Mark Mitchell's at the free throw line. He's got a chance to tie the game. Steps up, misses a free throw. He made the second. It was just a 1-point game, but then Drake goes on a 6-0 run over the next couple minutes. Missouri misses shots, and with 2:40 to go, basically the game's all over. It's 58-51, and as you can tell by the final score, with 2:40 to go, that was enough. A 58-51 lead with 2:40 to go was enough because the Tigers weren't scoring. They shoot only 33% from the field. Caleb Grill scored 14, but he was only 1 of 7 from 3. We mentioned yesterday on the show that the key to this game was going to be Caleb Grill's three-point shooting. 1 out of 7 in the NCAA tournament. Your best shooter, Mark, is never going to get it.
Not going to be good enough.
Poor time for that. But we're enjoying the action. We love the basketball. The tournament is on. It was not a great day. It was not the best day. And I don't know what to make of the conferences other than the ACC is not good. Carolina won their play-in game in impressive fashion, which has my interest peaked a little bit. But everybody loves Duke, and all the metrics show that Duke is the best team. But we watched Louisville get drilled by Creighton, and we watched Clemson lose. They were down a 20, I think, at one point, came back and made it close at the end, but never got the lead, weren't going to win it. But the ACC looks terrible in this tournament, so I don't know what to make of Duke. A lot of people think Duke's the best team and maybe they're going to win it, but I'm not sure. If that was the league that you excelled in, looks like it was pretty bad.
Yeah, Clemson only scored 13 points in the first half of that game yesterday. Absolutely crazy.
My pick of the day today, if you like that sort of thing, is going to be, it's coming up at 11:15, Mississippi State over Baylor.
All right. I have a late game. I like UConn minus 5.5 over Oklahoma. Oklahoma just hasn't been very good this year.
Yeah, I like that too. I like it because UConn is just battle tested in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
All they do is win games in this tournament.
Yep.
And they may have just been the team that you think is laying low, waiting for the tournament, defending champions. Okay, we're going to go get them once this tournament starts. I could see that. I like that. When there was a time that Oklahoma was out, like they weren't even in the last 4 out. They were way out and got hot late and got into the tournament. Cool stuff. 913-408-7957 is our number. If you'd like to join the show, we can take your calls next. And I got some tasty topics for Mark on Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO 95.7 FM. Here's Kevin Kietzman.
Did you know our government does a lot of cancer research funding? And I think most people view that as a positive thing and a good use of tax dollars. Maybe we spend too much. Maybe it's not appropriated the right way. But did you also know that only 4% of that goes to pediatric cancer research? Full disclosure, my daughter's a pediatric researcher at Children's Mercy. And she was very excited yesterday. She was published as a first author for the first time in a medical journal, which is really cool, from a study they've been working on for about 11 months at Children's Mercy. So I'm very proud of her. This really isn't about her, but this area is obviously important to our family because she's so involved in working in science in a field for children. I've got some friends that are, for the first time, putting on a golf tournament called the bravelikeMcKenna.org Foundation Golf Tournament. It's going to be at Dubs Dread coming up May 16th at 8 a.m. If you're a golfer and you'd like to play, this is a cool deal. This is not one of these big, fancy, expensive tournaments that takes 7 hours to play and there's 8 million people playing. They're starting it small. They just want to remember Brave McKenna, who died of brain cancer. And they're looking for sponsors and players. And if you'd like to get involved, just give us a call here at the radio station. I'll leave the information with Mark. We can get you in touch with these folks, and maybe we'll see you out there. Dubs Dread, May 16th. Golf tournament, the Brave Like McKenna Foundation. You can find out more information about pediatric cancer research, bravelikeMcKenna.org. Really nice folks here in Kansas City, and they're going to be having a golf tournament. So pretty cool stuff there. All right, Mark, how about this? We're going to give a shout out to the Oak Park Northmen, who won their first state title in boys basketball, beating Chaminade at Mizzou Arena on Norm Stewart Court. And Oak Park's head coach is... Oh, I've stumped you.
It's a KU player, right?
Sharon Collins.
Yeah.
Yes. Sharon Collins on Norm Stewart Court at Mizzou Arena wins Oak Park's first state championship. They say it was an upset, but when you go win the game and Sharon Collins is your coach, maybe you're doing something right.
That's pretty cool.
That really is cool. I got that in an email from a listener who said, don't forget to shout out to the Northmen. It's a big deal because it's their first, and they've clearly got something going on. I wonder what that means for Sharon going forward. If high school is his calling, if maybe a college job is something he'd like to do, it would be interesting to see. Quite a college player, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He was one of the best.
Really good. Okay, we discussed earlier this week the blue velvet whoopie pies that the Royals are going to be selling at Kauffman Stadium this year. The Royals open Thursday, folks. They open Thursday at Kauffman Stadium. It's supposed to be 72 degrees. The blue velvet whoopie pies will be available only in Rivals Sports Bar in right field.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I guess each one of these specialty items has a location.
Mm-hmm.
Does a bar sound like the right place for a whoopie pie?
No, I don't think so.
I would think the blue velvet whoopie pies would sell better at a pot shop in Missouri.
Yeah, put it out there. Well, I was going to say by the kids' stuff for the parents, but
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe right by the Topsy stand where the popcorn and the cotton candy is.
Yes.
The blue velvet whoopie pies.
That sounds like a good spot.
But see, that would crowd up the concourse. If it's a big popular item, it would crowd up the concourse. So they take you to the outfield.
Yeah.
There's ice cream right across from that bar, right? There's a big ice cream thing across from there.
Mm-hmm.
So the whoopie pies are at Rivals in right field. I like that. 9 Chiefs cheerleaders quit. It's a pretty big number. Doesn't usually happen. It's normally 2 or 3 that say, okay, that's it. Most Chiefs cheerleaders are Chiefs cheerleaders for between 3 and 6 or 8 years. 9 of them quit this year. What do you think's going on?
Were they not getting paid enough?
Well, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. They at one point talked about unionizing. Raiders cheerleaders were trying to put that together. You know, they're featured so much. And if college athletes get paid for name, image, and likeness, how often do you see NFL cheerleaders? On the website, in media packets, in promotional items, during the television broadcast with 40 million people watching. There's the cheerleaders representing your team. I don't know what they get paid now. They used to get paid like $50 a game, and that was it. But it was something that got you connections with people and could help vault you in your career. Most of them are young professionals, and they do this on the side. It is grueling work. They practice almost as much as the team. At Union Broadcasting, when I was there, our executive assistant or receptionist was a Chiefs cheerleader, and she was always having to leave work to go do events. It is a lot of work. You may not think so. It is a ton of work for almost no money. So it is grueling, And obviously there's infighting. I can't imagine what happens on the inside of that deal. But 9 this time, my theory was this. I hung around for one more ring and didn't get it.
Yeah, that could be too.
Because while they're not paid much, they got rings.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are worth a lot. 3 levels of Chiefs rings. Expensive, medium, and cheap. A lot of the cheerleaders, whatever, they're nice rings, but they're really only worth like, I want to say $2,000 or $3,000, as opposed to the $250,000 one that Clark Hunt wears or something like that. So there's different levels of rings. 9 Chiefs cheerleaders quit. How about that? So we got more action coming up today in the NCAA tournament, Mark. You have talked about the game that you like, and I talked about the one I like. One of the things I miss about the first round of the tournament, it's very small where you see where the location is. And this is a small pet peeve of mine. I don't think the first and second rounds are what they used to be because there's nothing unique about any game you're watching. The court looks identical everywhere. It says very small in one place, Denver or Wichita or whatever. And the pods don't match up. When you go to your bracket, it makes no sense where anybody's playing or what's going on. Now, it does beginning next week, but this week it doesn't. And I think for fans following, the reason they do it, folks, is to sell tickets, and that's worked. You send teams to certain locations, like KU was in Providence, Rhode Island, in the West region. That makes no sense to anybody, but it helps sell tickets there where they needed to sell tickets. And so, we know how they do this. They do it for a reason to sell tickets. I think they're hurting the television product. Something's missing because millions of us have brackets that there's nothing on here. There's nothing on here. It doesn't say where anybody's playing or what. Like Denver, shouldn't they have something on the court of like the Rocky Mountains? And maybe Wichita, they're known for aerospace. Maybe they have an airplane or something Wichita-like. Each location should have something familiar. We should know where they're playing these games. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to KCMO Talk Radio.